All right, hey guys. There's a lot of stuff for us to get to, so I'm just going to jump right into it. I was contacted by a couple people over the last day to do a video about Fluffy Pony getting arrested, and I dug into this a little bit, and I think there's actually more for us to talk about than what I initially saw. In the crypto community, it seems that the consensus is that the government is going after people who are behind Monero, the people who are developing these things, just as they have been going after people like John McAfee, Arthur Hayes. And we're going to get to the Arthur Hayes thing after we get to this Fluffy Pony matter, but there actually is some stuff here I want to discuss. And then there's a piece of news at the end, which is, I think, kind of confirming a lot of things we've been talking about here on this channel. And that's not a good thing to some degree because we're pretty bearish on Bitcoin. We're pretty bearish on a lot of things. When I say bearish on Bitcoin, I'm not saying the price isn't going to go up, but our belief here on this channel is that the regulatory apparatuses of the state are slowly going to tentacle constrict Bitcoin to the point where a lot of people are going to move their way into privacy coins. So we're going to get to that at the end of the video, but there are some things I want to get into here. There are some tax things. There are some legal things, which I think are interesting. So I want to start with this Fluffy Pony matter because you guys have requested it. And by the way, I'm Monero Mateo. How you guys doing? Monero's Fluffy Pony joins John McAfee, Ross Ulbricht, and Arthur Hayes behind bars, but for a non-crypto crime. Riccardo Spagini, the former developer of the privacy-oriented cryptocurrency, was arrested last month over accusations of fraud. And yeah, we talked about Monero being the cyber vehicle of choice for cyber criminals. This is true. He has been accused of defrauding his former employee. And so I don't know anything about the case. I haven't looked into the case. And as far as I'm concerned, it's still being worked out legally. He seems pretty confident about this. He says that it's a misunderstanding, according to what his wife posted on Twitter. Here, thank you everybody for the kind messages. And in this matter, a message from Fluffy Pony. Due to a misunderstanding in regards to the setting of court dates in an old matter, which I've continuously been trying to resolve since 2011. I've been held in contempt of court and I'm currently waiting extradition. I'm hoping to resolve this misunderstanding within a short while. So he's talking about this just being a misunderstanding, and his business partner seems to have some confidence in this after speaking with him, because he had said today, in light of Fluffy Pony's being offline and in custody, the Monero core team, which if you don't know who Fluffy Pony is, he's one of the main developers of Monero. And this is why he is rather well known. He's sort of like the media face of it too. He does a lot of interviews and things like this. The Monero core team has removed all of his admin and write permissions over Monero repos. I've also just moved 5,577 Monero from the general fund to another wallet he has no access to. In case it isn't clear, the sole reason to remove potentially critical access is because he could be pressured while in custody. It has nothing to do with him being guilty or innocent or what we think about it. I'm looking forward to reinstituting them soon, which shows good faith, right? Ricardo wants to assure everybody he's doing okay. So he seems pretty confident about this. Again, I don't know anything about the case. From what I read, it doesn't look good for him. Looks like, he defrauded some people. I don't know if this is a move by the governments to try to get him off the development of Monero. I don't know what's going on with it. It's just a little bit too much for us to understand right now. So he's being extradited to South Africa. That can't be good, especially with what's going on right now. I mean, South Africa is in a lot of trouble. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of anarchy out in South Africa. Not the anarchy that we like. The anarchy that involves chaos and destruction, not anarchy that means no rulers, no masters. And so he is going back to South Africa. Hopefully he doesn't go to jail. But then again, apparently he had defrauded his former employer approximately $100,000 by generating false invoices. Now, if that's true, he should pay for that. That is fraud. That is bad. But we don't know the case, and we can't come to any conclusions. But looking at what happened to John McAfee recently, what happened to Arthur Hayes, which we're about to get to, you could speculate that there is a move going on against big names in the crypto sphere. John McAfee was particularly a big advocate of privacy coins. He had his own privacy coin called Ghost. And there's a lot of speculation as to whether or not John McAfee killed himself in prison or was taken out. He had made some Twitter posts like, I'm doing fine in prison, I'm not thinking about suicide, things like this. Looks like he was taken out to me, but we can't come to conclusions about this. We don't know. But big advocate of privacy coins. Now, John McAfee faced some tax evasion charges. So, according to the Department of Justice, he allegedly hid cryptocurrency, a yacht, real estate, and other properties in an effort to evade taxes. Now, who knows if he was actually trying to evade taxes? Now, knowing John McAfee, it very well could be the case that he looked like he was looking to evade taxes. You could probably make that argument. And here's the danger that I was trying to communicate with a lot of people in the crypto community. If you're into cryptocurrency and you're one of these people who's pretty vocal about being an anarchist libertarian, saying taxation is theft, saying that, we should have no government and things like this, they could look at that and they could look at your cryptocurrency activity as being attempts to evade taxes. They can make that argument. And so if they charge you with that, you could find yourself in a lot of trouble. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get to see the case that the Department of Justice had against McAfee because he died in prison. Perhaps a lot of things would have been released. Who knows? But, it says here, according to the indictment, John McAfee earned millions in income from promoting cryptocurrencies, consulting work, speaking engagements, and selling the rights to his life story for a documentary. So they want the money that you get for talking about your life. It's just not enough for them. McAfee allegedly failed to file tax returns despite receiving considerable income from these sources. The indictment does not allege that during these years, McAfee received any income or bad connection with the antivirus company bearing his name. Okay. McAfee allegedly evaded his tax liability by directing his income to be paid into bank accounts and cryptocurrency exchange accounts in the names of nominees. The indictment further alleges that McAfee attempted to evade the IRS by concealing assets, including real property, a vehicle, and a yacht, in the names of others. So we'll never be able to see McAfee's position on this. We'll never be able to see his defense, unfortunately. But it looks like he was taken out to me. Can't say that conclusively, but I don't think he was going to be killing himself. But he was kind of a renegade. He was kind of out there. But John McAfee, bless your soul. Bless your soul. So now I want to get to Arthur Hayes. So he's a Bitcoin billionaire. And so what I want to say, just as an aside, is what happens if people like Arthur Hayes goes to jail or ends up like John McAfee? If he's got thousands of Bitcoin in his wallet, if somebody like Arthur Hayes disappears, and there's another billionaire, I think, who also disappeared in a mysterious way, died in a mysterious way. I think he fell out of a building or something. And those Bitcoins are not to be recovered, unless like the password to the wallet is in a will or something like this. Right? And so that's pretty deflationary for Bitcoin. And we've talked about in previous videos, like maybe that increases the value of Bitcoin because those will never see circulation again. And so just something to note. Now he's wanted by U.S. authorities, and insiders wonder whether he and his partners are villains or victims of a two-tier justice system that favor big banks over brash outsiders. I think we know where we are in that. We're going to conclusively, I think, establish that by the end of 5 minutes. It's pretty easy. He's in jail now. This was a previous article written in February. I think he's in jail now. But Hayes' colleagues in the cryptocurrency world believe he is being punished for building an ingenious product that has baffled lawmakers, bedeviled regulators, and once it became widely popular, posed a threat to some of the market's biggest players. And so, what did they arrest him for? Well, prosecutors alleged that Hayes and his business partners violated the Bank Secrecy Act by failing to implement and maintain an adequate anti-money laundering program to weed out bad actors and dirty money. Okay, so they're going after him and arresting him for not having adequate anti-money laundering programs. Now, it doesn't seem as if they had found people who had laundered money through this cryptocurrency exchange. I don't think they've conclusively determined that based on just what I'm reading in this article. Maybe they have. Excuse me. Just had some Waffle House, which is awesome. At a time when the SEC is seemingly doing the bidding of Wall Street titans, eager to punish the unwashed masses of day traders for scuttling banks and hedge funds. So yeah, this was written during the whole GameStop thing. Hayes might just be patient zero when it comes to exposing the hypocrisy and high finance that is now coming into sharp relief. And so this talks a little bit about his life. Stop there. Okay, so yeah, he's being arrested because of money laundering things. This goes into too much detail for us to really get into. We don't really need to do that. But here's where I just want to expose the hypocrisy. HSBC, one of the biggest banks in the world, prominent in Asia. So they were money laundering for some of the biggest criminal organizations in the world. HSBC moved vast sums of money, of dirty money, after paying record laundering fine. Talking about the Ponzi scheme here. Yet HSBC continued to handle the Ponzi network's massive flow of dirty money into and out of its bank accounts. People were getting major fees. HSBC was profiting from an international criminal scheme, even while on probation, for having served murderous drug cartels and other criminals. HSBC had admitted to U.S. prosecutors in 2012 that it had helped dirty money flow through its branches around the world, including at least $881 million controlled by the notorious Sinaloa cartel and other Mexican drug gangs. Nice, right? In a controversial decision, which is just another way of saying in a corrupt decision met out by lawyers, which were paid off probably by the bank, prosecutors declined to seek an indictment of the bank, but instead allowed it to pay a almost $2 billion settlement and serve 5 years probation, during which its efforts to prevent money laundering would be monitored by a court-appointed watchdog. HSBC continued to provide banking services to alleged criminals, Ponzi schemers, shell companies tied to looted government funds, and financial go-betweens for drug traffickers. And this is another video I'm going to make later about why it is maybe the government, in many cases, could adopt Monero, because there's so much corruption in the government. Looted government funds, a lot of that could probably be taken out through Monero. So this talks about more money laundering schemes. Next article. Deutsche Bank execs missed money laundering red flags. Missed. Fed warned Deutsche Bank over anti-money laundering. The Fed, the Federal Reserve, fined Deutsche Bank $41 million for failing to maintain an effective anti-money laundering program. So nobody's going to jail over these things, just like nobody went to jail over the 2008 crisis. But they're just throwing them fines. And with these fines, with all the money that they're getting as a result of these money laundering operations, with all the bribes that the bankers are getting under the table from these people, these fines are just costs of doing business. They're not deterrents. They're just costs of doing business. You got to pay up so that we could make the public statement that you paid your dues for this thing, that one of our unfortunate goody-goody employees snitched on you for. But once we get that settled, once you pay us this little sum, you can go back to doing whatever you're going to do. That's essentially what that means. Germany orders Deutsche Bank to do more to prevent money laundering. Deutsche Bank's biggest scandals, money laundering in Russia. And it goes on. Deutsche Bank agrees to pay $130 million in latest U.S. stuff, right? So, bankers going to bankster. Two top banks, Deutsche Bank, which disclosed $1.3 trillion of suspicious money in the files, in these suspicious activity reports, which you're required to file, which is one of the things that they got Arthur Hayes for, not reporting suspicious activity reports. Because as long as you're money laundering, as long as you say that, hey, this might be money laundering, you're not going to get caught for money laundering. You just got to say, hey, it might be through a suspicious activity report, one of these SAPs. And if you do that, then you'll be fine. And JP Morgan, which disclosed $514 billion. Other lenders include HSBC, which we talked about, Standard Chartered PLC, and Bank of New York Mellon Corp. Yep. So all these banks are money laundering, doing terribly illegal things, assisting in drug traffickers. But you see, it's really bad when our boy Arthur Hayes starts a crypto platform. And even though nobody's been, as far as I'm concerned, charged with money laundering, except for maybe John McAfee and some other people, on his exchange, he still goes to jail. No fine for him to pay. No small little multi-million-dollar fine. Nope, you got to go to jail. Because you're in the cryptocurrency world, right? That is what's going on. And so this is just another example of the hypocrisy. Manhattan U.S. attorneys announced criminal charges against Industrial Bank of Korea for violations of the Bank Secrecy Act, the same thing they got Arthur for. The bank admitted its conduct and agreed to pay $51 million. And this is for somebody who was bypassing Iranian sanctions and funneling money to Iran using the bank. And they knew this was happening. They did nothing to stop it until someone tapped them on the shoulders. And then they got in trouble. But $51 million, again, cost of doing business. That's all that is. Nobody going to jail, except for the money launderer in this case, but nobody in the bank goes to jail. This is how it works. Two-tiered society. So just some things to talk about, right? And so I wanted to end with this because this happened today. This is a good piece of news for us to discuss. We still recording. Cool. Gensler says crypto needs rules to spur widespread adoption. And we've been talking about this every day over the last week. U.S. SEC Chair Gensler says crypto trading, lending, and decentralized finance platforms should be top priorities for oversight. Stock tokens, stable value tokens backed by securities, and all virtual products providing exposure of underlying securities fall under SEC oversight. Possibility of Bitcoin ETF. If crypto to be widely adopted, it needs some rules. SEC staff must uncover any wrongdoing in crypto. Many tokens may be securities under our laws. The SEC should be technology neutral. Right? So we'll just skip to the bottom. You can go through this article on Zero Hedge. A lot of stuff to read here, but I just want to get to the bottom here because this person who wrote this Zero Hedge article is a little bit different than the Zero Hedge person who wrote the other Zero Hedge article that we were looking at, who was kind of like rainbows and ponies in regards to a lot of this regulation stuff. You remember they were saying, oh, well, more adoption, this is wonderful because there are going to be gains, and the more regulation, the better, because it means more people will be more comfortable to get into it. Probably not people like you or me, but that was the perspective. But now we read here, to be sure, many in the crypto industry see Gensler as somebody with a higher level of understanding compared to most political appointees or politicians. The hope is that increased regulation will lead to more adoption, and we imagine the entire community would embrace anything that makes the price go up. Right, so we've also discussed this before, like people just have these laser eyes, right? And they're just looking at the gains. And it's like this meme thing on Twitter. And I didn't realize how memey it was before I joined Twitter. Like, even looking at MicroStrategy's Michael Saylor talking about Bitcoin, like, he seems like a teenager talking about this stuff. He's like, every single problem that you could ever imagine can be solved by Bitcoin. I think he literally had a tweet like that. It's like, I don't care what your problem is. I don't care what your issue is. Bitcoin could fix that problem for you, just as it's fixed all my problems, or something like that. It's like, this is kind of culty. I mean, especially with all this stuff going on, I think you guys need to take the laser blinder goggles off and kind of take a more objective view at what's going on here, because these are significant risks going on. In my opinion, in my personal opinion, if you feel differently, leave a comment. We could have an open discussion about this. If you disagreed, please let me know. But this all could backfire. Even if the SEC does approve a Bitcoin ETF, while there is no indication that the U.S. regulation will be anywhere as strict as Beijing's crackdown, with the Fed developing its own crypto, the government has every incentive to try to undermine Bitcoin. Yes, and this is what we've been harping on over and over and over and over again for the last week. When their government comes out with their own cryptocurrency, which is going to be competitive to Bitcoin and all these other cryptocurrencies we're talking about, they're going to have every incentive to undermine Bitcoin. And they have many ways of doing that, guys. Unrealized capital gains taxes. If they drop that nuclear bomb on the crypto sphere, look out below, because that would just be Titanic. Seriously. A lot of people would go into privacy coins. Now, hopefully, by the time that happens, we'll have atomic swaps open for Pirate Chain and Monero, and people will be able to run to the lifeboats using those means. But you never know. Let's hope the community isn't being blinded by Gensler's slick talk about increased adoption. Does this guy listen to our channel? Maybe the Zero Hedge author is listening to our channel. You know, I think, again, there's more of an awareness, I think, coming along. And look, if you're listening to this channel, you are so ahead of the curve. I'm telling you, we are ahead of the curve, and my goal is to keep you all ahead of this. And if you are watching this video and you find value from it and you think other people could learn from it and from other videos that we've put on our channel, please share the video. Like the video if you like the video, and comment. It gets it bubbled to the surface. More people will see it. If we get more views, if we get more likes, this incentivizes other people to see it. Like, we have to get this information out there, because I think time is not entirely on the cryptocurrency sector's side. And I think that, you know, we got to get people in these privacy coins, which, by the way, we will end our video talking about. Let's see how they're doing. Trade Ogre, show us the stats. So Pirate Chain, you know, we're having a little bit of a reversal from earlier today. And I've been seeing a little bit more about Grin. If you guys know anything about Grin, would you mind leaving a comment? Would you mind talking about that a little bit? I'm interested in hearing from you. That's something I haven't gone into. Haven, Darrow, Monero, my lovely top four personally. Okay, XMR is pretty stable relative to Bitcoin. Darrow, it's had a great run over the last week. Looks like it's stabilizing around 27,000 Satoshis to a Bitcoin. So, interesting stuff. So, let's get into full screen. So, if you guys found value from this video, which I hope you did, like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Monero Mateo, and we've got more videos in the works. And, you know, I got a lovely comment from a guy named Rick. Rick, shout out to you. Thank you for the comments on the previous videos. He said, you know, you don't need to put content out like this every day. You know, this content is just hitting hard. It's killing. And I appreciate those comments. Those are very nice comments. But he's like, look, you could release one video a week, and that'd be fine for me. Like, I get my fill just by watching one video a week. And I said thank you, and that's very nice. But here's my perspective. Like, again, time is not on our side. Like, we've got to get this information out to people. I think it's critical, really. I think this information is incredibly important. The crypto market has to have these discussions about where it is we see the government going, where we see the government taking us, because I would be all over Bitcoin. I would be all over Ethereum. That's what I would be talking about personally, if it weren't for the growing panopticonical totalitarian surveillance police state, which is taking over the entire planet. And, you know, that puts a big premium on privacy, a big premium. And seeing this come, I think we're ahead of the curve again, being in privacy coin. So that's all I'm going to say about that. More videos coming. I made a video already today that I'm going to release tomorrow, so expect that. We're going to talk about shortages. We're going to talk about some other interesting things going on, the rise of the black market, the rise of crypto in response to that, why it is when they ban cash and we go to a digital currency, if we have more black markets and more digital currency adoption, then Monero is going to go boom. We've got good stuff in the works, so please subscribe and keep a lookout for that. This is Monero Matt. Follow me on Gab, follow me on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey. I have those in the works now too. And it was great speaking with you guys. Have a wonderful day.